Let's have a look at two charts of the same person, Mick Jagger. One of them is geocentric, Magi Astrology style, the other one is heliocentric. I haven't shown you yet how to create a heliocentric chart using astrological software. That will be the topic of the next lecture. For now, we'll simply try and spot the differences between the two charts. First of all, notice that there is no sun and no moon in the helio chart. This is understandable. We're seeing the universe from the viewpoint of the sun, so instead we see the Earth symbolized by a circle with a cross in it. To be precise, this is an Earth-Moon complex. The moon, when looking from the sun, is so small and so close to the Earth that it is virtually indistinguishable from it. This Earth-Moon complex is very important in a helio chart, as it shows the person or other entity for which the chart was created. So its interpretation is similar to the interpretation of the Sun in a geochart, but the Earth-Moon complex is even more important, as it includes two luminaries, and we could say it is more emotional because of the involvement of the Moon. For simplicity, we'll call this Earth-Moon complex simply the Earth in the rest of this course. The next important detail to notice is the trine between Venus and Mercury in the helio chart. Such an aspect is impossible in a geochart. In geocentric astrology, Mercury and Venus are always somewhere around the Sun. The distance between the Sun and Mercury cannot reach even 30 degrees. And the distance between the Sun and Venus is always within 50 degrees. Between themselves, Mercury and Venus can only make a sextile of the major aspects. No squares, no trines, no oppositions. That's in a geochart. In a heliochart, Mercury and Venus are free to travel around the zodiac and to form all sorts of aspects, no limitations. Another important feature of a helio chart is that no planets can be retrograde in it. Retrograde motion is a phenomenon only possible in geocentric astrology. It results from the fact that we are observing the movement of planets from a moving viewpoint. We already know that in Magi Astrology we can work with people for whom the time of birth is unknown. We just need to disregard the moon. Helio chart is even less sensitive to the time of birth. The fastest planet in it, Mercury, travels around 4 degrees a day. So if we create the chart for noon, the biggest possible error in the position of Mercury will be 2 degrees, and for the other planets it will be much smaller. Finally, there is a difference in the second dimension that we use to precisely locate planets in the sky. In geocentric astrology, we use declination for this purpose, and the aspects of declination. In heliocentric astrology, declination isn't available, so we use the ecliptic latitude. And there can be the aspects of latitude, a parallel and a contraparallel. The slide shows the positions of planets for Mick Jagger, and you can see declinations for the geochart and latitudes for the heliochart. Notice that declinations of the planets are distributed in a rather wide range, from 1 degree with minutes in case of Neptune to almost 30 degrees in case of Chiron. You remember that Magi Society recommends the orb of 1 degree and 20 minutes for the aspects of declination. Now have a look at the latitudes. For most planets they are close to 0 or 1 degree. Only Pluto, Chiron and Mercury differ substantially. This is why the recommended orb for the aspects of latitude is much narrower. Magi Society recommends 0.3 degrees, which is 18 minutes, but I believe that 20 minutes works well in practice. This is yet another difference between geo and helio charts, a much narrower orb for the second dimension. And the second dimension itself, latitude instead of declination. Now, let's think how well both charts describe Mick Jagger, his talents and achievements. We know that he is a world-famous singer and songwriter who achieved an enormous popularity and influence in rock music. He is also a great example of longevity, both creative and physical, so to say, as his latest 8th child was born when Mick was 73 years old. In the geochart, we see a close conjunction, which is often called a stellium, between the Sun, Jupiter, Pluto and Mercury. You know that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is a super success aspect and that Mercury is associated with sinning. So we can interpret this stellium as a super successful singer, which is quite close to reality. In declination, there is a close parallel between Jupiter, Mercury and the Sun, which just confirms our interpretation. Heliocentric chart often offers some additional details that help to get a clearer picture of the person's talents and achievements, and that happens in the case of Mick Jagger as well. Notice a grand trine between the Earth, Neptune and Uranus. A world-famous person with outstanding longevity. Jupiter-Pluto super success conjunction is even more precise here than in the geochart, and it participates in at least 2 closed configurations of aspects. One of them is with Venus and Uranus, super success in making money as a result of global fame. Another one, again with Venus, and then with a conjunction of Mercury and Chiron, which adds beauty, harmony, as well as money of Venus to the talent of charismatic singer, and super successful singer as well. There is actually a Cinderella aspect here, Venus trine Chiron, if we allow an orb of 4 degrees, which is quite reasonable in this case, I believe. If you count super aspects in both charts, you'll notice that there are many more of them in the heliochart, which is quite appropriate for such a successful person. You might notice that I've marked as super aspects some aspects that you wouldn't consider belonging to this group after completing the basic Magi Astrology course, but as you'll learn soon, Magi Society has somewhat extended the definition of super aspects lately. Now I believe you are keen to learn what yours and your friends and relatives' heliocharts look like, and in the next lesson I'll show you how to create such charts with the help of astrological software.